My Spiritual Journey by Erez Asher. Episode 2. Seeking Knowledge. After my spiritual awakening in the summer of 2012, my life felt like it had been hit by an earthquake. Because prior to that time, pretty much everything I was doing in my life had been based on logic and reason, built on the foundation of a decent education. Yet my spiritual awakening shook that foundation to its core. I thought I knew what I could trust, what I could believe in, what it was safe to build on. And clearly I was wrong. So I saw that I had a lot to learn. And if the divine was communicating with me, the first thing I figured is I need to know the difference between what's divine communication and what's my imagination, what's coincidence, what's not coincidence. So I needed some space in my life. And part of this involved divorcing my wife, which was a painful process. And what I would later come to see was a case of divine timing. I had previously arranged to fly to Vancouver, Canada, after returning from Esalen. Because in addition to that being where my father and stepmother live, it's also where my mother was flying to for a conference, which gave me the opportunity to see my biological parents in the same place at the same time, which was a very rare event. In fact, it only happened 3 times prior after I was old enough to remember it, and the last time was my wedding. So here was this opportunity for me to inform them in person of my impending divorce. But one of the things that happened is that as I was speaking with my mother, I found out that she was going to buy a new car. And I was in need of doing something to replace my old car because it was a Mazda Miata, very impractical vehicle that I had bought for myself for my 25th birthday and would rather want to keep if I could. And so I wound up arranging to drive my Mazda Miata from California to Indiana, trade my mother for her old car, and then drive back to California. That would give me plenty of time to think, plenty of time to open myself and discover and see what the universe was guiding me towards. So that's what I did. I arranged to couch surf along the way, and I would do 1 day driving, 1 day sightseeing. The stops on the way there were Reno, Nevada, then Salt Lake City, Laramie, Wyoming, Lincoln, Nebraska, and Iowa City, Iowa, before heading back to Indiana. Then on the way back, it was Kansas City, Missouri, Denver, Colorado, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona, and then back to Northern California before I eventually moved to Southern California. And as I was doing this, I was discovering how much there was to discover. I had been really closed off in my life. I had been in my comfort zone. And I was really putting myself out there in a big way and discovering that there was so much that I was receiving, so much that was coming to me. So I made it the focus of my life to learn. And I pursued basically every learning opportunity I could that felt like it was aligned with my spiritual journey. I went to workshops, went to classes, dance, singing, yoga, different forms of yoga, different forms of tantra and neo-tantra. There was men's work, there was other forms of personal development work. Basically, quite a lot of different ways to discover more about who I was, what I was, and understand relationships, understand my interaction with the world more clearly and outside of my comfort zone. And it was mostly hard and mostly very difficult because I was putting myself out there outside of my comfort zone so often, so frequently. And yet I felt it was necessary. I felt this was essential for me somehow, and I kept receiving this insight and knowledge like, okay, there's this, there's that, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And so I did. And eventually, I transitioned from a state of seeking knowledge to actually experiencing knowing. Because knowledge is not mere information. Knowledge is experienced. Like right now when I'm looking outside, I'm knowing that there are clouds in the sky because I'm seeing them, I'm experiencing them. If I was not able to see the sky, I'd be guessing, I wouldn't know. I'd be thinking that there may or may not be clouds, but I wouldn't know for sure. So the transition from seeking knowledge to being in my knowing really only arose when I began with plant medicine. But that is going to require an entire new episode. So in the meantime, I wish you many blessings, a beautiful day, sending you all much love.